Hi, this is Charles Kelly, Money Tips. Let me ask a question today. Are your limiting beliefs holding you back in life? Are your limiting beliefs holding you back in life? Many of us carry baggage around that we carry through our lives like a camel with a hump on its back, literally with the hump. And these can really hold us back. And many of these limiting beliefs, which at the end of the day are just fixed ideas, they're something you've learned through experience, through parents, family, sometimes through teachers, friends, spouses, husbands, lovers. I mean, all sorts of people that you've lived or worked with can ingrain these beliefs in your mind. And unfortunately, many of these beliefs are negative. They tend to be things that are not coming from successful, positive people, really be coming from negative people and unsuccessful people that we encounter during our lives. So we carry these around really like a backpack on our back and through our lives, and we drag them into our new relationships. We drag them into our work and to situations and expect other people to accommodate our emotional baggage, which doesn't really make sense, does it? So examples of these could be, I don't like men, I don't like women, I don't trust men, I don't trust women, or rich people are greedy, crooks and evil, and the way they got their money was through wrongdoing. They've deprived others of money because they've got all the money and there's nothing left for us, which is just not true. Rich people create wealth, they create jobs, they create more wealth, and there's many examples of that in my book, Yes, Money Can Buy You Happiness, and my other book, Borrow and Grow Rich. There's plenty of money around for the right things. So the other one is, money is the root of all evil. Of course, that's a misquoted biblical quote, which was supposed to be, for the love of money is the root of all evil, not money is the root of all evil. Money is neither good nor bad. People who are nice to me want something in return. There's this suspicion. You're blocking people from coming in because you think, what do you want? What's in it for you? That sort of thing. You're suspicious of everyone. That's a limiting belief as well. You're not open. Then there's the racial thing. People of a certain race, certain age, gender are this way or that way. Learned beliefs are really deeply ingrained into our minds. It's like a default setting on a computer, and you have to go into your mind and reset the default settings, just like you would have to do on a computer, replace the settings. Now I'll explain a couple of ways you can do that later on, but we've got to really deal with these things, and what we should be doing is literally mentally taking that backpack off our back and mentally, visually throwing it onto a fire and just burning all those old beliefs. And that is an NLP type of technique that would be used by the likes of Paul McKenna, many NLP practitioners, and also people like Tony Robbins, who copied NLP and made it into his own version of NLP. But there are ways of dealing with this, and we can't really expect everybody to accept our beliefs and just say, look, indirectly you're saying to them, look, this is me, this is what I am, you'll have to take it or leave it. This is me now, you've got to take me or leave it. And that's not really the way to develop relationships and be successful in our life. And if you're saying that, then really you're saying, well, look, because I've had a bad experience with somebody similar to you, maybe a man or a woman or someone who was younger or older or of a different race, because I had that bad experience with that person, I'm going to expect everyone's like that and carry that through the rest of my life. Well, that's bonkers. It just doesn't make sense based on one or two bad experiences. It's really absurd when you think about it. Now, at the other extreme end of this is beliefs where people are killing each other in countries because of beliefs. Sometimes people of the same religion are killing each other, and they believe in the same God, but just different versions of the way that their religion should be practiced. They're literally at war. And so a belief is something that you learn to accept as the truth. It doesn't mean it's really true, Just because you believe it and it's a belief in your mind, it doesn't mean it's really a factual thing. If you think about it, it's just something you've learned maybe as a child. You've learned rich people are evil. Well, is that really true? No. If you actually delve into it, it's not really true. So don't accept this as the gospel, if you like. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. For instance, you could have been brought up with a certain faith or certain set of values and think that, well, if anyone doesn't meet those standards, then they're not right for me. They've got to be of this standard or that standard. And again, that doesn't make a lot of sense either, does it? To block people off just because they're not of the same they don't have the same values as you. They might have different values, and maybe their values are low values and you don't want to be associated with them, but it doesn't mean because they think differently, or don't believe in your faith that there's anything wrong with them. Now, you might say, oh, of course not. No, I never discriminate against anybody. But is that really true? Are you, subconsciously pigeonholing them, discriminated against that person, even though I'm sure you're nice people and you don't discriminate against anybody, but unfortunately it doesn't happen. And, as I said, beliefs can be formed unconsciously, through our childhood even. So they're in that brain and you can't really, just automatically snap out of it. You've got to find ways of really dealing with it. People who've had abusive childhoods often go on to abuse people. People in prisons are often coming from broken homes, from abusive homes. A lot of them are illiterate. So I'm not just excusing anybody that's committed crimes, but there is a history there and a pattern that seems to follow. And, there are people that have never worked in this country. There are people that have lived on benefits. And sometimes you get 3 generations of a family that have always been on benefits. And that's just another crazy learned belief that, kids grow up in that environment. They think you don't need to do anything to succeed, you'll be on benefits, and the parents ingrain that negativity into them. Whereas if you come from not necessarily a wealthy family, but a family of workers and hard workers and people who believe in education and striving forward, the children are much more likely to follow their lead and their example, not just what they say, but really what they do. By the way, a recent report in the UK found that 1/3 of children are worried about finances. And that's quite an astounding thing. And I grew up in that situation myself, worrying about the family finances, even as a child, because you came from a poor background. But we were always taught to work hard and save and buy property. So these are things I write about in my books, that even though we came from a poor family, we had good examples set by my parents, who were both immigrants into the UK. So also what I found is limiting beliefs can actually, and I wrote about this again here, is that it can set a subconscious ceiling on the amount you can earn. And literally people have this sort of thermostat that, like a thermostat in a house, if it's set to 21 degrees, the temperature in that room will not go above 21 degrees, because if it does, the heating will go off. Or like an air conditioning that will keep the room at a certain temperature. And that's the same with some people's beliefs, that if they believe that they're only worth this amount of money, then even if they win the lottery, they'll eventually try and get back to their default setting. I saw this in sales, when salespeople would regularly earn the same amount every month, but then in the first week of the next month, they might go halfway towards their target in the first week. And you think, well, you could really do well this month, but somehow the rest of the month wouldn't go so well, things would be sabotaged. I don't know, but it all seems to level themselves out to what their default setting and their subconscious thermostat setting said. And I've written about this in my books. Now, look, money obviously helps with happiness, right? And that's why I wrote, yes, money can buy you happiness. It's not all the be-all, end-all of happiness, but you need a certain amount of money for security and to lead a happy, normal life. But most of our happiness really comes from the people around us. If I ask you to think of a time when you were happy, a really great time in your life, think about that now, a really good time in your life. Maybe it could be years ago or recently, and think about where you were and who you were with then, because it's unlikely that you were sitting at home watching TV in front of, having your dinner in front of the TV or with a packet of Doritos. You were probably with people. You're probably with someone you love, your family. It's unlikely that you were on your own. And this is because people like to be around people. We were designed that way. And, yes, there is a trend for people living on their own, but it doesn't mean that everyone is happy with that. In fact, for a lot of people, living on their own actually sucks. And if people were so happy being single, then why would millions of people be on dating apps and Tinder and Bumble and Match.com and that's when there's TV ads on every day, from aimed at the young people to old people who want to be with somebody. Because humans and most animals like to be with others, and we like to live in tribes, groups, communities, and that's been the same for thousands of years. And I know that the number of people in single households in the UK has shot up. A lot of that's through divorces and that sort of thing. But still people do thrive better. They live longer. They're healthier when they're with other people. So just think about that. I know you see people sitting in Starbucks on their laptops, but we don't know if they're really happy. Maybe they're happy with, having that fun coffee on their own. But, happiness doesn't come from pleasure alone. Happiness comes from living a fulfilled life filled with love, activity, people. Happiness comes from giving, sharing, building a life with someone you love, maybe even raising a family if you're into that, going through struggles together, building a business, going through those struggles. Sometimes I look back and think I was happy in those days when we were struggling and striving to build that business, So life is not just about money, but it is about the people you're around, and that is really, something that you've got to think about. Now, you really need to deal with your negative learned beliefs, I think, because they can easily ruin your life if you keep those, and some people do keep them throughout life. And there are ways of doing that. There are lots of things on the internet to clear the blockages of those mental beliefs. It's a very simple exercise. I'm not going to go through them all now, but they're also based on your beliefs. It will affect your goals as well, because we have, invariably two types of goals: moving towards goals and moving away from goals. And philosophers discussed this for thousands of years, that, your life is about either getting away from pain or moving towards pleasure, this pleasure and pain thing, the carrot and stick as they call it. And you might have a goal, for instance, to earn more money or have the house of your dreams, which would be a moving towards goal. On the other hand, if your goal is to lose weight or give up smoking, that would be a moving away from goal. Now, a conflict arises when, the pain of pleasure or the pull of pleasure or pain is at odds, and if your desire for pleasure is greater than your desire to get away from the pain of something, then you're in trouble. So if you're trying to lose weight and, but at the same time, you don't like the pain of being overweight and being unhealthy, but at the same time, you've had this pleasure of eating sugary foods, then you have a conflict of interest. And it's then, where do you go? Because in order to lose the weight, you've got to cut out the things that give you pleasure. But the pleasure of eating those foods is so great and stronger than the desire to lose weight that you can't give them up. And sometimes it takes another NLP technique to really drive it home and feel the pain of having that extra weight, feel the pain of how you look, feel the pain of the problems it's causing to your heart, to make you really snap out of it. And then you can change in an instant. And that's happened with people who are giving up smoking and all sorts of things. So, just think about that pull between pain and pleasure. If you're too much into your pleasures and you want to earn more money, but then you like to sleep until midday and you don't like to get up, you don't like to work more than a couple of hours a day, then you've unfortunately got a bit of a problem there, haven't you? So just think about that. If you've had a bad experience in the past that maybe is causing you pain, like you've had a bad partner, a bad spouse, a bad relationship, maybe an abusive relationship, then that negative experience could really go on and spoil any future relationships that you might want to have. And this happens as a pattern that people go through. They get into a mini relationship and they pull back because they think, oh, I'll have the pain again. I don't want to go through that, But you've got to somehow let go. Another example is when I was at home as a child, we had a lovely dog. And, it brought a lot of pleasure and to the family. I was particularly close as the eldest child to the dog and taken out for walks and all that sort of stuff. And it was great. But obviously dogs don't live as long as humans. They live probably 1/7 of our life. So when that dog died, it was so painful for the whole family. We all cried and it was horrible. So, my mum said, we're never going to have another dog, and I couldn't do it, and that kind of stuck in my mind. So the pain of losing a dog is so great that it's deprived us and me from the pleasure of maybe having a dog again, because I didn't want to have that pain of the dog dying. But you've got to let go. I recently watched a documentary on the BBC which was about a group of Holocaust survivors who were having their portraits commissioned by Prince Charles. And these 5 people had the most horrific experiences ever. You can't even imagine, in Nazi concentration camps. Now, they had every reason to carry that around with them for the rest of their life. They had every reason to hate people. They had every reason not to trust anybody. But they managed to move on and forgive. and they learn to get rid of their baggage somehow, maybe through their religious faith, I don't know, but they didn't show any bitterness, and these people have gone on to lead very successful and happy lives. Now, as I said, if you want to get rid of these beliefs, there are many books and techniques you can find, on Amazon and on I would suggest you Google it and look on YouTube to unblock and get rid of these limiting beliefs. Or if you want to know more, I can maybe bring on a guest to talk about it in the future. And find something that works best for you. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on this. Just find something, but do try and get rid of those beliefs because they are holding you back. Okay, so I'll run through a couple of other economic news this week. The markets are still kind of going up a little bit because they think that the war might be ending. House prices still going up, but I think we could be in the tipping point of house prices with affordability being beyond the reach of so many people. In fact, there was an article recently that said during the lockdown people earned more money on the value of their houses going up than they were from their jobs. The average value of a house went up by more than the average income in the UK, which is crazy. I'm going to go do a special episode on property because it's important. The other thing to remember now is that coming very near to the end of the tax year. So do look at ways you can save tax. Go to your accountant if you have one, but you can certainly look at sheltering your money from future tax by putting it into pensions and ISAs, individual savings accounts, which can be a deposit account or it can be a stock market based account. So you can invest in your stocks and shares in your ISA wrapper or in your pension, your self-invested pension, which will not be then subject to any taxes or tax returns. So do think about the end of the tax year coming up very, very soon, and think about your tax returns, getting that sorted out afterwards. Now, it may be spring in the air here, but it was actually snowing today, and that's a metaphor really for knowing that the economy, I think, is still in the winter. It's not out of the winter yet, and I think we have more winter months to come. Rapid inflation, record inflation, 30-year high in the UK, 40-year high in America. Interest rates going up, affordability of products going down because of rising prices. That will affect house prices as well. So I want to help you get through this economic winter, and to help you get through that and come out stronger at the other end, I put up a special training. I spent months preparing this. It lasts for over an hour, and it will help you immediately get control of your finances so that you're not losing money like a leaking bucket, and it will immediately get control of those finances and help you to become financially free and learn how to become financially free in just 28 days. It's through my Smart Money program. Do check it out. It's a free training. Check out the link below and get control of your money immediately and learn how to become financially free in 28 days. And I'll take you through various techniques in that online training that you can get straight away by just clicking on the link below. Thanks for listening, and have a great weekend, and do something about those limited beliefs. Bye for now.